Okay, hi everyone and welcome to It's Mail Merge season, today's webinar from the Conga guys. Today we're going to be talking about Conga Mail Merge and how you can make the most of the end of the year by using Conga Mail Merge for all of those year-end mailings that seem to come up from other departments or your own that everyone wants to send out. So that's why it says end of year mailings are one of Conga Mail Merge's specialties. So thanks so much for joining us. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Shelly Houlihan, Senior Product Specialist at Conga. I put up my email address on there, so if you all have any questions at the end of the webinar, feel free to email me directly. I'd be happy to field those. I also put my Twitter handle. I'm not on Twitter very often, but if you'd like to follow me, sometimes I occasionally tweet fun things about Conga and that sort of thing. So a little bit about me. I have almost 6 years of experience here at Conga, and I'm a former member of our customer success team. The reason I mention that is because you may have, hopefully I've talked to some of you who are on the phone with customer support issues, but also what I'm going to walk you through today is exactly how our support team would walk you through Conga Mail Merge. So I have that sort of background where you're going to be getting all the best practices and tips. I also put on there that I am the Conga employee who's probably the most enthusiastic about Conga Mail Merge. And what I mean by that is just that I kind of love it more than anyone else here at the company. I think it's a really great tool that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it can really save you a lot of time. It gets not a lot of love around here because there's a lot more flexibility and features built into Conga Composer, our flagship app, but Conga Mail Merge packs quite a bit of punch, and we're going to talk about what those features are today, so hopefully you guys will become Conga Mail Merge lovers just like I am. Okay, so what exactly is Conga Mail Merge? For anyone on the phone who's not quite familiar with it, it's a free app and it's included with a Conga Composer subscription. So if you're on Conga Composer Release 7, Conga Mail Merge actually came with your Conga Composer installation, the managed package as they call it in Salesforce terminology. And so what that means is you don't have to install Conga Mail Merge separately. It already is in your Salesforce instance. If you're on Conga Composer Release 8, Conga Mail Merge is still included for free, but you do have to install it separately. So you just do that from a private App Exchange listing from our website and go through the installation process and you're ready to go. Conga Mail Merge is a true mail merge tool. So what I mean by that is that it's designed to batch and print Word documents. So if you're looking for features like email or e-signature integration or things like that, unfortunately Conga Mail Merge is not going to be your tool. But if you're looking to do things like print letters, labels, envelopes, name tags, table tents, anything where you would kind of need a batch of documents or letters, envelopes, those sorts of things printed, then Conga Mail Merge is your girl. So it's very easy to use. There's a 7-step little wizard that we're going to walk through, and it's totally awesome. I think you guys are really going to like it. So that's a little bit about it. If you have questions on which sort of release you're on for Conga Composer, I mentioned Release 7 and Release 8, just send me an email after the webinar or we will take some questions at the end and I'd be happy to help you guys walk through that, figure out which version you're on. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we're calling this Mail Merge season. And I have a little joke up here from Lumbergh from the movie Office Space, if you're familiar with that, where he's saying, yeah, I'm going to need you to send a donation acknowledgement letter to all of our 2014 donors by this Friday. So down below we have Grumpy Cat on the left who does not have Conga Mail Merge, and he's not going to be able to do it. Tough luck, no opposable thumbs, it's going to take forever. You're going through a manual copy-paste. On the right we have a happy little winking dog who is a Conga Mail Merge customer. This is all of you, and no problem, you're going to have it ready in no time because you're going to go through the Conga Mail Merge wizard and you'll have it ready in a matter of minutes. So now we're actually going to go into my development org and build a Conga Mail Merge solution. So let me jump out of this PowerPoint, and I will bring over an internet browser here where I already have my development org pulled up. So this is all dummy data, but I just wanted to show you what's included in Conga Mail Merge to start with. So I'm using the app menu for Conga Mail Merge. If you don't have that, if you're on release 7, just go to your All Tabs view and you'll see the Conga Mail Merge tab. There is About Conga Mail Merge, where it tells you a little bit about what the app does, how to get started, that sort of thing. I'm not going to walk through all of this with you guys today because we're going to go through in great detail on how to build a solution anyway, but that's there if you need a refresher. And then the next tab you'll see is the actual Conga Mail Merge application. So this is going to take you through that wizard that I have mentioned a couple of times so far. This is just how to build your solution. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Third, you have Konga Templates. If you've used Conga Composer before, then you're probably highly familiar with this. This is just where you're going to store those document templates that you build with Conga Mail Merge in our case. So you build your Word template because unfortunately Conga Mail Merge does not work with anything but Word. This is where you want to store it. And then lastly, we expose the Salesforce Reports tab. This isn't anything proprietary to Conga. We're just leveraging the Salesforce Reports tab that you already have. And this is because Conga Mail Merge uses reports to determine the data that you need to use in your template, as well as which records do you want to generate, the letters or labels or envelopes, whatever you're going to produce. Who do you want to produce those for? So the report sort of serves two purposes. To get started, I'm going to jump back to this Conga Mail Merge tab and start working through this wizard. So what I'd like to do on the front end here is go through a solution that I've already built out really quickly so you guys can see the end product, and then we'll go back in and see how I actually built each component of that so you can then replicate those steps when you have to do your mailing or whatever you're going to print. So the first step is really easy. Just select whatever it is you want to produce. You can certainly do more than one at a time, but for my example at the beginning, I'm just going to do letters and documents. And then just click that Next button that's either at the top or bottom of the page, and it'll take you to step 2 where you're going to enter your search criteria. So what this means is, how do you want Conga to determine which records are in your batch? And by the batch, I mean, you know, we are doing a mail merge. It's a batched process, so we're going to get multiple letters for the records that are in our batch, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is use a report, and I have one called Donations All-Time Letter, and then I'm going to click this View Report button in the lower right corner just to show you guys what this looks like. So if you don't listen to anything else in this entire webinar, I would say focus right here on this next minute or so where we're going to talk about the report. Everything else is really super simple. This is the one thing that can kind of trip up customers, so we're going to talk about it in a little bit of detail so that everybody understands this nice and clear. So what I've done here is selected a report type based on the records that I want to pull from. So in my case, if I go to Customize, we'll be able to see the report type. This is an opportunities report. If you're familiar with Salesforce, you know that you also get account information along with that opportunity level of data. So I've selected a few fields or columns from the opportunity, like the name, amount, close date, and then I also have the account name. Lastly, over on the right, you'll see I have account ID. That is the most important field or column on this report. And the reason I say that is because this is how Conga Mail Merge is able to read the report. Us humans, we go through these text and number and date fields to determine which records are in the report, but Conga Mail Merge reads it by IDs. So think of it like a computer. It's going to read IDs. We read more like typical text values. So you want to include the ID according to which records you want in your batch. We kind of mentioned that. What does exactly that mean, Shelly? That doesn't really make sense to me. I don't work at Conga. I don't quite know what that means. So let's go through that a little bit further. I have selected the account ID, which, and going forward, we'll call that our master object ID. So what that means is the account will be sort of the driving force behind this merge, and that functions in two ways. Number one, Conga will go out and retrieve every single field from the account to use in our merge process. That doesn't mean we have to use those fields in our template, but it means every single field from the account is available for us if we need it. It also means that for each unique record ID that's in this report, each unique account ID, we will get one letter in the output from Conga Mail Merge. So when we get our merged output file, our batch of letters, if you will, there will be one letter for each unique account ID. So you'll notice, if I sort this by account name, you'll notice that Aetna Home Products with the asterisk next to it is listed twice. It's the same account. You can see it has the same account ID, but there's two opportunities associated to it, two different opportunities. So what that means in the output is I will get one letter because there's one unique account ID for that record, but then we'll be able to list the two opportunities that are associated to that account all on the one letter. So I usually think about this in a backwards way. If you want one letter per opportunity instead of per account, then you'd include opportunity ID as your master object ID instead. So if you're having trouble with that, we can go through it in more detail at the end of the webinar if you all have questions, or again, feel free to email me and I'd be happy to help you guys through this. But that master object ID, you have to have this on the report in order for Conga to be able to read the report. And secondly, as a best practice, you want to include it as the very last or far right column on the report. That's just a best practice. The other fields that you select here are going to be generally from your detail object. So the account is the master, the detail relationship goes down to the opportunity, and we want to select whatever fields we may need from the opportunity as columns on the report. So for example, I want to be able to show the opportunity name, the amount, and the close date on my letter, so I've selected those three opportunity fields as additional columns on the report. The last step is to just include whatever filter criteria you need to determine the proper records are included in the batch. So you can see mine is really, really general because I don't have very much dummy data in this development org. I just have the opportunity status of closed won and then the date range is all time. But typically what you would have is something like maybe account type equals, or excuse me, that was opportunity type. Maybe you only wanted new customers. So you could filter it down that way. So just include whatever filters you need to determine the proper records in your batch. Or again, whoever shows up here in the report will be the records that you're getting in your merged output file that you'll get letters for. Unlike Conga Composer, you don't have to do any of that. Master object ID equals null. You don't have to do any of that in Conga Mail Merge. The ID is just included as a column. So now that we've talked about the report, I'm going to jump back to the Mail Merge wizard and simply click Next. And this just takes a moment. This next page is going to be what we call the cherry picker page. And the reason for that is because there's this include checkbox over on the left, and it's just saying here are the records that we're going to generate letters for, and if by chance I already knew that maybe my colleague sent Edge Communications their letter yesterday, I could just untick their box and click Next, and then they'd be excluded from the mail merge process. The other thing that's nice on here is you obviously can get just a preview of who's included, the name, the street, etc. These columns will change according to what you selected as your master object in the report. So if you're looking at a contacts, it's going to show the contact name, etc. The other thing that's helpful here is up at the top where it says master records found versus detail records found. So this goes back to the report a little bit. We had 8 unique account records as the master objects, and then spread across those 8 records are 20 different opportunities. So those are the detail records. There's 20 opportunities spread across those 8 master records of accounts. So if that all looks good and you want to include everyone in your batch, then just click Next and you'll go to step 4 where you're going to select your letter or document details. This is essentially choosing the template that you want Conga Mail Merge to merge to. So again, I've already built one called Donations All-Time Letter, and if I click View Template, it will download the Word document for me, and I'll click OK. Please ignore those error messages that it's showing. That's just, there's a little funky little setting on this particular computer I'm working on. So I've just turned off the grid line so we can see this a little bit better. But I've got merge fields here. You all should be familiar with those, hopefully, from building out templates before. But anything you see with the double chevrons on either side is a merge field. So I've got the contact full name, the account billing address up in a block there. And then you'll see in the middle, you can still use a detail region just like you do for Conga Composer Word templates. And this is where we're pulling in the opportunity information. So name, close date, and amount. And then this is just a formula. If I toggle the field codes here, you can see it's going to do a sum on all of the above amounts and provide us a grand total. So it's basically a grand total of how much that person has contributed. That will get updated in the output, so it won't say currency. And then the rest of this is just static text. We have a nice sort of header with an image at the top. Obviously, all stuff you can do in a Word template. The only other thing I wanted to show you was the if statement for contact name. This is a helpful one, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but it's a great way to do a conditional sort of logic. If some value is equal to XYZ, then display such and such value. If it's not, then display this and that value. That's what I mean by a conditional. We'll come back to that when we talk a little bit more about the template. So I'm going to, minimize this for now. That's the template we want to use. Click Next. And then because we're not using labels or envelopes in this particular merge process, we got to skip from step 4 to step 7. So don't think that we can't count here at Conga. It's just that you don't need labels or envelopes, so we've skipped to the end. And then all you have to do is click Letters Documents to download your file. So the other options that you see here, I'm going to come back and talk to those after we get our actual merged output, and you can see what these letters look like. So hopefully you all can see that after, we stopped a couple of times so I could explain different things to you, different features, and it still only took about, with talking about the report and everything, we took a little divergence there, but it takes just a couple minutes to go through that merge wizard, and you get these lovely merged output files on the other end, and you're good to go. There's your year-end mailing. It's mail merge season. You're done and done. So our particular merged output file, we've got the date field, again, contact name and address, contact first name. Here's that if statement that we mentioned real briefly before. So if I do toggle field codes, that's where you can expose sort of the coding behind that merge field that's coming from the Word template. It's saying if the first name, so Elias, equals blank, which it doesn't, then show the account name of, in his case, Edge Communications instead. But because it does not equal blank, then go ahead and show the first name. So that's why you're seeing when you update this or toggle field codes back, it does show the first name. That's just a great way. That's a particular requirement we run into quite a bit, where people say sometimes we have a primary contact or a first name and we'd love to use that in the salutation, but sometimes we don't, and if that's the case, then default just to the company name. So that's exactly what that if statement is doing. Keep in mind that this template is posted with the recording of this webinar that we'll post to our support page, congasphere.com, after the webinar is done. So you all can download this particular template if you need, and then just customize it to your particular requirements. The last thing I wanted to point out is just that table that's now been updated with all of the donations or opportunities, in my case, that are particular to the Edge Communications account or Elias's contact record. So we've just got that opportunity name, close date, and amount, and then here's that really cool total we talked about before. You can see it's summing up the 60, 75, and 50,000 into 185,000 total. If I scroll through, you'll see each subsequent page begins a new letter, and please don't mind this particular error that I just showed that, because obviously if you have a data error in Salesforce, like this particular record has his state and city displayed twice, then that's what Conga will pull in. So unfortunately we're not a data cleanup service, just a data merge service, document generation, so you want to be mindful that your data is clean. That's why I leave that in there. And then the same thing, but this time the donations or opportunities that are particular to Tim Barr, and he's with the, I should have displayed the company name somewhere, Grand Hotels account. So it just keeps going on and on. You can see we have 9 total pages. If you get a lot of opportunities or donations on one particular record, that table is just going to keep growing, and then the letter might split onto 2 pages. Don't be worried about that. Just, then the next page again will start with the next account record and so forth. So once they get printed, you can collate them. Like you can see this one was breaking onto 2 pages. So it's always kind of a good idea to review your records before you print them and just make sure that everything's looking correctly. Like you can see I have another data error here, and then that's causing this to scooch onto another page. So that is working through the wizard. We talked about the report a little bit. Before we go back, actually let me just minimize that again. Before we start over and actually build a solution together, I wanted to talk about a few of these options that you see on the download page. All we did was click letters/documents to download our file, but you have a few options, what you want your file type to be. So I kept ours as Microsoft Word. The other option would be to download it as a PDF. That's really helpful if you have to send your file to like a mailing fulfillment house or something like that where you don't want anyone to be able to edit the file. The multiple files question is if you want one file, which is what we did. It's just one consolidated file. That's what I recommend if possible, because it makes it really easy to print just from one file. The other option is to select this multiple files, which will give you a .zip file format. So each individual master object record, so in our case each account would be its own letter file. So we would have ended up with 8 files inside of a zip, since we had 8 accounts in our particular report. And then lastly, the log activities button. This is pretty cool. What you can do is log activities against the master object record. So again, in our case, that would have been accounts. And it stores those in activity history, the related list on the account object. So you have the option to include the body of the letter. What that does is takes the body of the Word output file for that particular record and copy and pastes it essentially into the comments field on that activity. So if that's important to you, then click yes. If it's not, then click no. The reason we say save space for this option is because that is going to eat up a little bit more of your Salesforce storage space, so just be mindful of that. Contrary to Conga Composer, we don't have the ability in Conga Mail Merge to store an actual copy of the output file associated to the record, so this is as close as we can get with the include body of the letter. Activity subject, could be something like, donation acknowledgement sent, and then optionally you can schedule a follow-up task. So if I wanted to follow up on these in a week's time, I might do Monday the 15th, and the subject line on those will just be follow-up, colon, and then whatever you've specified as the subject for the completed task. So once you've done that, just click Log Activities. It'll ask you if you definitely want to do that, just to make sure it's not a mistake. And then it takes a minute or two, or up to a minute or two, depending on how many records you have to log activities for. Since we only have 8, it should just be a few seconds, and then you'll get this confirmation message that activities were logged for the 8 objects. So there are some cool options on this page to help you with sort of like your business processes and streamlining the whole thing. So I'm going to click this Start Over button just so that we can go back to the beginning and build a solution from scratch together. Again, I'm going to start with letters and documents just to keep it simple. If we have time at the end, I definitely want to go through a label. Let's talk a little bit about data source. But we already talked about report. I showed you guys how to do that. These other options that you see, contacts, leads, accounts, and campaigns, are really helpful if you have really simple requirements. But honestly, I very, very rarely use these. I find that reports is the easiest, especially if you have the sort of process that you're going to have to repeat. So maybe you're doing an end-of-year mailing right now, but then at the end of Q1 you have to do the same sort of thing and you're able to use the same report. Or maybe you have to do the same sort of end-of-year mailing next year. Well, then your report's already in here and you can come back and recycle it. These other data sources are more like a watered-down version of a Salesforce list view. So you can either select all or my, and then further restrict the list according to the fields on that object. So if we're looking at contacts, for example, I could say mailing state equals Colorado, except I can't spell or type, there we go, equals Colorado, and then it would show only my contacts, the ones that I own, that are in Colorado for their mailing state. Same sort of thing for leads and accounts. Campaigns is the one area on data source other than reports that might be useful, where you can go into all campaigns or my campaigns and then it shows you campaigns with campaign members. So that can be helpful, but otherwise I would highly recommend just using a report like we already talked about. Okay, and then once you have your report built, you're going to get the cherry picker page. There is this view data workbook here. I would recommend not using this one. I find best practice is to use the view data workbook that's on the very end of the mail merge wizard. So I'm going to skip to step 4. The view data workbook is used to build the template. So that's sort of the next step in this process. So to get to the end, you can just choose a template from salesforce.com if you already have one loaded. We're not going to actually merge to it and you can skip over it. If you don't yet have anything built, then you can use type or paste the body of the letter and just put something in there as a sample and then you can click next. You just have to select one of these options. So we're just trying to get to the end for right now. You can use this option to type or paste the body of the letter if you have something really, really simple. But I find that the best thing is to choose a template from salesforce.com. The option in the middle here is to choose a template from your local computer, and that is really handy while you're testing. So you as the admin, we're going to go build a letter and then we could come back here and choose a template from our local computer, browse for it, merge to that local version as a test, make sure everything looks good, then go upload it to Konga Templates, and then it would be available in the first option as choose a template from Salesforce. So again, right now I'm just trying to get to the end of the wizard, and here we are, step 7, last page. I'm not going to do a merge again. Remember, I'm trying to build my template, so I'm scrolling down and clicking the View Data Workbook here. The reason I like this one is it displays all of the data from all of your records versus that one in the middle, or the version that you get in the middle only displays the first row of data. So it gives you sort of a preview. If you have a lot of records in your batch, then you may want to use the View Data Workbook that we give you in the second or third step there of the wizard, because it'll load a lot quicker. But for me, I only have 8 records. It's going to show up pretty quickly here. The View Data Workbook, why do we care about this, I guess is the first question. It's an Excel workbook that, or spreadsheet I should say, that displays all of the Salesforce fields that you then can turn into merge fields on your Word template and thus use in your merge process. So each of the bold headings that you see in row 1 across here corresponds to a Salesforce field. So account name, mailing street, greeting formal, etc., etc. Those are all Salesforce fields. The master worksheets that you see down here, master continued 1, master continued 2, those refer to your master object record. So in our case, if you guys remember, we had selected account as the master object, so all of the fields that we see on these master worksheets are account-related fields. The reason you sometimes see other things like contact owner is because depending on the object you choose, Conga gives you some sort of bonus information. So in my case, because I chose an account, it will give you the primary contact information if you're using contact roles related to the account, and that's why you sometimes see contact data. The report data worksheet that I've just selected at the bottom is going to display the exact columns that we had selected on our report that we used as the data source. So if you remember on the far right, we had the account ID as a column, and then the other ones were opportunity name, amount, close date, and account name. So those are all displayed right here for me. So there are my 20 opportunities. Org is short for organization. It's information about your particular organization. And then user is whoever's logged in and running the process. I'm logged in as a fictional guy named Conga Composer. It's going to display his information as well. So these are all the different data sets, we call them, master being one data set, report data being a separate data set, and then org and user, again, two more separate data sets that you can pull fields from and build merge fields on your template. So this is basically the archaic version of the template builder. So if you're familiar with template builder in Conga Composer, we don't have that yet in Conga Mail Merge. Conga Mail Merge is planned for an update, new release in 2015, so I'm really looking forward to that because there'll be some new features and even more cool stuff. But in the meantime, we use this view data workbook to pull field names and build merge fields. So for example, if I wanted to grab the salutation and make that into a merge field, I would just click on it, highlight and copy this value, and then go to my template wherever I'm building that, and I might go like this, dear, and then you're going to insert a merge field in the old-fashioned way. And what I mean by that is a traditional merge field where you're actually inserting a merge field in Word so it gets the double chevrons. Unfortunately, Conga Mail Merge does not currently support text-based merge fields like this that I've just sort of pointed out. Once we do the updated version of Conga Mail Merge, then these will work, but for right now you have to do these guys. So just keep that in mind. You always want to build out your merge fields using the traditional method when you're using Conga Mail Merge until you hear an update otherwise. So then you would just go through, pull the field names as you need, build them into merge fields on the template. I'm not going to go through a whole lot of template stuff today. We have separate webinars in the archive on how to do Word templates, but I want to focus more on how to build the actual solution side. So you would just build out your template, and once it's all done, you can go back and test it out. So if I go back to the browser, we can use this jump to step menu and go to the letters/documents page. And we could do, if we had this on our local computer, we could browse. I only have it saved in Salesforce. So that's what I'm saying. If you built out a version, you were ready to test it, this is a good way to go. Choose a template, browse for it on your local computer, go through the rest of the wizard and make sure it's working. Let's say we've already done that. I'm ready to upload it to Konga Templates. So I'm going to jump over there, click New, and we'll call this Donation Acknowledgement Webinar Conga Mail Merge. You can call this whatever you want. Give it a description if you like. You can use the master field to set 1, 2, and 3 if you want to do field updates. So that would allow you to, say, update a field on the master object. So in our case, that would be on the account. Let me open one up just as a reference. Maybe we want to update the type to customer direct anytime we send out one of these letters. It's like a Salesforce workflow rule that does a field update, but it's tied instead of a workflow rule to when the merge process takes place and this particular template is used. So there's more information on master field to set in our knowledge base. If you just search for master field to set, you'll get a wealth of information on that, but that's a handy productivity tool. You can kind of kill two birds with one stone. So click save, and then once you save the record, you'll be able to actually attach your file. And this is where I would browse, find my file, and upload it here. And click attach, and then done. I'm going to show you guys the one that I already had built, which was this, the donations all-time letter. So you can see there's the attachment down at the bottom. So now if we went back to, oops, I closed out Conga Mail Merge. That's a rookie mistake. Keep it open. If you're using it, keep it open. Then you can go back and just work through the wizard. Do your letters. You've got your report built. Click next. It'll show you the list, the cherry picker page. Just exclude anyone you need to by unchecking their name. Click next. Select your template. We built ours out. We stored it in Konga Templates, so it's available from salesforce.com. We select that. Click next. It'll take you to the last page, and you simply choose your file type, multiple files if you want to log activities, etc. Click letters/documents. You're good to go. Do remember, if you want to log activities, that's a separate button click. You do need to click on this gray button here. So hopefully in a matter of minutes, your end of year mailing or whatever you need to use with your batch mailings, batch printed documents can be created with Conga Mail Merge in just a few minutes. So that is the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to show you all today. We're going to go through some other features, but that's the main methods and tricks and tips that I wanted to show you all. So let's say that one tip or trick that I wanted to share with you as a sort of a productivity tool is that we have a free custom object you can download called Conga Quick Merge, and I've already installed this. It's available from the Conga support website, which is congasphere.com, but the free custom object is called Quick Merge Links. So you can see I have it here in my All Tabs view. What I like about this is that you can create a mass merge record. That's the same as Conga Mail Merge. So again, once Conga Quick Merge gets a little update in 2015, then these will match exactly, but mass merge is mail merge, point merge is composer. So sorry, that's a little bit confusing right now. So I would select mass merge because I want to do Conga Mail Merge. The idea here is that you can preset all of the steps of that Conga Mail Merge wizard and then just skip right to that last page. So this is really handy both for solutions that may only be run once or twice a year, where you don't want to have to remember, gosh, which report was I using and which template and all of that. Did I want to log activities or not? Everything's preset for you. Or conversely, also very useful for those sorts of solutions that you're going to run all the time. Rather than having to work through that 7-step wizard, you can just come to Quick Merge Links, launch it, and you're done. So it's a big time saver and a big headache saver if you're using Conga Mail Merge often or just sporadically. All you have to do here is give your Quick Merge a title. So again, Quick Merge is just sort of like a little package that's going to have all of the different options for each step in your Conga Mail Merge wizard preset. So I'm going to call it Donations All-Time Letter, just kind of like I did with the other ones. Put a description in here if you like, and then you're just going to go through these settings and grab the appropriate items. So I'm not using an envelope or a label for this one. I'm just doing letters or documents. So that's just a regular template ID. So what I'll do is go back to my Conga template record. This is the one where I'd stored my Word merge template. I'm going to double click on this ID in the Salesforce URL and copy this. This is the Conga template ID. If you had an envelope or a label, you would also store that on the Conga templates object, and you would get the same ID. You would just pop it into the appropriate field, whether you're doing an envelope or a label. The next thing I need is my report ID. So I think I still have this open in this far right tab. I do. Let's just close. I don't want to save whatever changes I did. Let me pull that back up one more time just so you can see the ID nice and clean. Again, if you just double click at the end of your browser URL, you're looking for the Salesforce ID associated to each of these things. So I copied that one as well. I'm going to paste it into the report ID slot. Queries are more of an advanced configuration, and we're not covering those today, but if you were using queries, then you just pop in the appropriate IDs for the first query and the second query ID in those two fields. Campaign ID can also be punched in if you're using that for a data source instead. You can't use those other data sources like contacts, leads, or accounts for Conga Quick Merge. If you were using one of those, just create a report that mimicked that same data source and save it and then plug in the report ID instead. Okay, and then we get to sort of the cool options that are available with Quick Merge links. So my absolute favorite thing is this bypass wizard. And what this does is just skips over the entire Conga Mail Merge wizard because you've already provided all of the different information that it needs in these fields, and it takes you to that very last step, so all you have to do is download your letters or your labels or envelopes, whatever you're generating. So that's a big time saver. Default to PDF, you just check that option if you wanted the output file to be PDF instead of Word. The difference between default and force output as PDF is default allows the end user to change the option back to Word if they wish, whereas force output locks it to PDF and no one's able to change that. I'm not going to check either of those because I like getting a Word file instead. And then lastly is just the details about your logging activities. So you could put in the subject line for your activity if you want to log activities. And then do you want to store the body text? We talked about that, the body of the letter being copied and pasted into the activity. Do you want to automatically log these activities? This is the coolest part, I think, of logging the activities section. This is only available on Conga Quick Merge links. And what this means is if you tick this box, then as soon as you download whatever you're generating, letters or envelopes or labels, the activities will be logged automatically, which means you no longer have to separately click that Log Activities button to get that to happen. So it's a streamlining tool or a one-stop shop, if you will. And then lastly, you have the option, again, to create a follow-up tasks. The reason it says follow-up interval is because you're just going to enter a number of days for which you want those follow-up activities to be logged. So if I did 7, then it would log a follow-up task against each of my master records for 7 days from today when we do the merge process. So I'm going to click Save. I've got all my options in here. And then you'll see there's this cool launch button in the upper right corner. Just click this. It goes to automatically opens a new tab for Conga Mail Merge. It might take a moment here, and then you can see it skipped all the way to step 7. So that's my favorite part, that bypass wizard. And then automatic logging is enabled. It gives you a little reminder, so you no longer have to click this button. All we do is click letters/documents to download our file, and then we're done. The activities are logged. As soon as we print the Word document, then we can collate those, send them out. We might want to include a mailing label or an envelope to go with those if they're going to be mailed, or maybe they just get hand delivered depending on what your business is. Hand delivery would be pretty cool. Maybe by Santa Claus, who knows? So again, this is the same template we were looking at earlier, so you all are familiar now with this output file. But that Quick Merge link is really cool, just productivity tool. You can see it makes this whole process even faster. You can get it down to about 30 seconds or a minute. The hardest part is setting this up, which is just really easy. Just punch in those IDs and select your bypass and log activity options, and you're done. So that, I would highly recommend that. And that's available, again, from our website, which is congasphere.com, and that's a free additional object that we offer. So if you go to Conga Sphere and just search installation, an article comes up from our knowledge base called Installation Links for Conga Products. Just click there, and down at the bottom you'll see Conga Quick Merge. That's what we were talking about. There are 2 different versions depending on if you're on Professional or Enterprise and Above edition. That's just because of the record types. That's why we have two different versions. And then for all of our installations, we have the sandbox versus the production version. So just be mindful of which instance you're installing in and get the appropriate link there. From here, it'll just take you over to the App Exchange and the standard installation process, and you'll be good to go. This is also where you want to come if you're on Conga Composer Release 8, because Conga Mail Merge requires a separate install. So if you're on Release 8 and you haven't yet done that, I would highly recommend it. Come over here, install that, and then you can get started with all of your mail merge stuff. So we have about 15 minutes left. I'm going to show you guys how to do a label because we've been focusing on letters all the way up until now, and I'd like to show you how to do that in case people are interested in that type of solution. Labels and envelopes are pretty similar, so if you can do a label, you can do an envelope and vice versa. Okay, start over. It's spinning here, so we'll give it a second. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this time, instead of letters, I'm going to do labels. Again, once I build both of these solutions, I could select both of them and then go all the way through. But just to keep it simple, I'm just going to select labels for now. The wizard is going to be the same. It's just that instead of selecting a letter template page, there's going to be a label template page. So I'm going to use the same report that I did before, donations all-time letter. That's where our account was the master object. So we're going to, this time, instead of one letter per account, we're going to get one label per account. The easiest way to do labels is to use one of the built-in label templates that Conga Mail Merge gives you, and those are based on using either contact or account as the master object. If you need to generate labels for some other object, then you'll need to generate a custom label template. And again, if we have time, I'll show you how to do that. I think we will. But certainly the easiest way to do this is if you need a regular mailing label, then go with one of the standard ones that we give you here. So this is where it gets, it's going to be a little bit different than what we were previously doing with letters. So on letters, we were on step 4. This time we're on step 5, choose your label details. So you have a slightly different option here that you can choose a standard label size and layout, which are these listed below. Or if you've built your own label template and uploaded it to Salesforce on Konga Templates, you can choose that here. Or if you have one that you're just testing from your local computer, you can do that here. So we're going to start with the standard label size and layout because, like I said, that's the easiest one. If you want to include the account name and the recipient address, you would check that box. What that means is if, for example, I wanted the contact who we typically deal with, like Shelly Houlihan on the first line, and the second line I'd like it to list the company name, like Conga, then I would tick this box. And then the remaining lines, of course, will be the address. So the standard labels, again, are built with the assumption that you're using either an account or a contact as the master object, and then it's simply going to provide name, either contact or account name or both. If you're using an account, you can have both. Or if you're doing a contact, actually, you can do both as well because there's a lookup field from contact to account. And then the mailing or billing address below that. So the fun part is choosing your label style. This is where you get to crawl under your desk or into your file cabinet and look for that lovely Avery label package and just find the number on the front. That's what they call the label style, and just choose that. So let's say that we're doing an Avery 8760. If you're not finding your style in this list, or if you're using something else like a Staples has their own label styles, or I believe Office Depot, the same thing, then you'll need to create a custom label template. So sorry, I just changed that. But anyway, select your label style and click Next. And then because we're not doing envelopes or letters, again, we're going to skip to this last page. And it's the same as what we were doing with letters before, but this time we're going to select labels to download that type of file instead. So it's still going to come out as a Word document, and then you can see if I turn on enable editing just to get that bar to go away, the blue sort of dotted line that you see around each of these delineates the border of that label, and then all you have to do is load your labels into your printer and print this file to the label paper, and there are your labels. So pretty straightforward. You can see I've got the primary contact from the contact roles on the account as the first item, and then the account name and the address below. Pretty cool. So we just did labels in a couple of minutes. Really easy. But let's talk about one of those situations where I might need a custom label. I'm going to close this just to get it out of the way. So in this case, I would pull up my view data workbook. Let me close the other one just so we don't get confused. It really will be the same since we're using the same report, but always better to get a fresh one just to be safe. So again, it'll be that same Excel workbook, and just like you did with the letter, you would use the column headers that you see in the view data workbook as the merge fields in your template. So I've got that pulled up. The second tool that I need is a blank Microsoft Word document, and then to create a custom label, this would be the same if you wanted to do a custom envelope. You go to the Mailings tab in Word, do Start Mail Merge. Don't be fooled by these buttons over here. It's easier if you go to Start Mail Merge, select your item. I want labels. And then the cool thing about this is that the label vendors and the styles that you get in Word are much more, there's many, many more options provided than there are in Conga Mail Merge. Conga Mail Merge, we gave you kind of the greatest hits, the most popular styles, but we don't have enough breadth and depth to give you everything, but Microsoft does. So Avery are the most common, but you can see they kind of give you a brief description and then the sizes, but you might just, the easiest thing again is to dig out your label paper and just look at the number on the front. Like this one you can see is a really weird size. Let's select something else. So if you get the wrong one, just do what I do, go back to Start Mail Merge, click Labels again, and find the right one. So again, I'm going to do Avery US Letter, but let's maybe do Easy Peel Return Address Labels. The old 5667s. If you need to do this like I do, change, just click OK and it'll overwrite whatever you had before. So again, each one of these is a label in the output, and all we have to do is build the fields as we want them into these cells. Don't worry, we only have to do it in this very upper left cell, and then we're going to use this cool update labels and it'll propagate them or copy paste, however you want to think about it, all the way across all of these cells. So let's say that I'm going to do name tags, so all I need is first name. We'll copy this, and then same thing, we want to use the traditional way of inserting a field, not the text-based fields. Paste our column header there, click OK, and you can see it gets those nice double chevrons. So I'll do a space, we'll go get last name, create a field for this. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut this time, which is Alt-I-F-M-M, if you like keyboard shortcuts. Last name, click OK. Okay, that looks good. I just want name tags, first name, last name. So then all I have to do is go back to the Mailings tab, click this Update Labels button, and you'll notice, like magic, the whole sheet is now populated. So the key behind that is that it gets this little next record field, and that's what tells Conga Mail Merge to go from one record to the next in your report, and therefore output each of those into its proper label spot on your label paper. So let's go ahead and save this. I'm just going to throw it on my desktop right now so we can save it, and I'll just call it name tag labels. And just minimize a couple of these things. And then what we can do is again use jump to step and go to labels. Because we don't yet have this uploaded to Konga Templates, so it would be available in Salesforce.com, I'm going to select the third option, choose a label from local computer. Grab that file, click open, next, and then we'll be able to merge to that by clicking the labels button. So usually this merge process only takes a few seconds if you have just a handful of records like I do. It might take up to a minute or two if you have a lot of records, or if you have too many, it will actually time out. Excuse me, so now you can see our lovely output. We've got the 8 records here of name tags. You can see that someone is missing in this upper right corner. That just means that whatever account that was associated from didn't have a primary contact role, because that's where these contact names are coming from. So if you have a missing data like that, go back and look at your View Data Workbook or your report. You can see here's our missing person. It's University of Arizona, but they don't have a contact name there. So that View Data Workbook can end up being kind of a helpful troubleshooting tool as well. So that is custom labels. So if I liked this, then I would just take this template file and go upload it to Konga Templates, just like I did for the letter, and then it would be available when I went to the labels step of my Conga Mail Merge wizard, only it would be this time in choose a template from salesforce.com. So one quick thing, I'm going to start over and show you guys very quickly the envelope option. I won't go through how to create a custom envelope because it's the same as building a label. You just select an envelope instead and the appropriate envelope size. There are also directions on how to do that in our Conga Mail Merge Word templates documentation, and that's available also on kongasphere.com. So I'm just skipping. I just want to get to the point where I can show you what the label, or excuse me, this time we're doing envelopes. Oh, I must have forgotten to deselect letters. My mistake. Okay, so step 6 is envelope details. Again, it's similar to a label where you have the option to select a standard size, one that you've already uploaded to Salesforce or your local computer. I'm going to show you standard. Again, include account name is an option. It's the same as what we talked about with the label. And then you just select your size. So again, easiest way to find this out is just pull out the box of envelopes and look at the number. So 10 is a pretty popular size. If you want to, you can include a return address. This will appear in the upper left corner of the envelope. So let's say I want Conga Composer. He works at Conga, and our address is 385 Interlochen Crescent, Broomfield, Colorado, 80021. There's a comma down there. I'm just going to delete. Okay, so click Next. And then, as you, I'm sure, have surmised, you click the Envelopes button to download that sort of merge. And again, mine should just take a few seconds since we only have 8 records. We're only getting 1 envelope again per, oh, I'm sorry, with label, or excuse me, I keep mixing the two. With envelopes, it's a little bit different. You will get 1 envelope for every detail record. So that's why we're getting 2 envelopes, actually 3 for Elias, because he had 3 opportunities. So it's 1 envelope per detail item. I know that's a little bit confusing. There is a way around this where you basically build an envelope template and then store it as a label, because labels are able to merge only to master records. I know that's kind of confusing. So if you have this, if you're running into this particular requirement, send me an email or support@kongamerge.com an email, and we will walk you through how to do this. But these are what the labels, or gosh, the envelopes look like, where you're getting your return address that you entered, and then whoever was your recipient. Again, 1 per detail item on this. So those are envelopes. So we've covered all of the features that are available in Conga Mail Merge, a little bit of best practices, talked about some productivity tips like logging activities and using Conga Mail Merge, even a little bit about master field to set, which was that field update capability. I know it's right before the end of our time, but I did want to open it up for questions. Just chat those in if you have any sort of questions, and I'll take those on. I'll give you guys about a minute to respond, and then if I don't get any questions, feel free to submit those later, again by emailing me. I'll put up my contact information again, or support@congamerge.com, and we will get you sorted out. So take about a minute, and if you have any questions, just let us know. No questions, huh? I'm not seeing anything coming through. Okay, well, it's 5 o'clock Mountain Time, so that's the end of our webinar. And it doesn't look like anyone's brave enough to ask a question for today, or maybe the webinar was just so great you guys already got all of the information you needed. Hopefully it's that latter option. But I want to thank you again for attending today. Thank you for coming to the It's Mail Merge season webinar. I hope you learned all about Conga Mail Merge and that you love it just as much as I do. And have learned how to create your own solutions. Again, if you do have questions, please feel free to email me or support@congamerge.com. We will get you all fixed up, and have a great evening.